You may not be getting the full warmth that your sleeping bag's temperature rating is promising. Today I've got a quick video to make sure that you are maximizing the warmth available to you in your bag. And at the end, I've got an interesting tidbit for you that you may not know about sleeping bag temperature ratings. So stay tuned for that. Or just skip ahead. Hey y'all, my name is Adam and this is Dad Camps. I've been backpacking for over 25 years now and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And I want to share what has worked well for me with you, so let's dive in. All right, the number one way to ruin your sleeping bag is right here. Ooh. Using one of these. In fact, when you buy a sleeping bag, you should probably just throw this away. And I'm gonna tell you why. You should never be storing your sleeping bag, especially synthetic, in a compression sack, particularly not long-term. And you really shouldn't do it with down either. But with down, there are some ways that you can restore the loft. It just takes some effort and some time to get it back. But with synthetic, you could actually be diminishing the lifespan of the bag that you spent your hard-earned money on if you store it in a compression sack long term. And look, I get it. I get the attractiveness of it. I mean, look how small that is. It definitely takes up a lot less space. You can easily throw that into a closet or in a gear bin. But it's effectively ruining your bag and making it so that you're going to be cold if you're taking it out at the temperature rating that it expects to be used at. And the reason I say you should just throw it away entirely is, and the reason I say you should just throw the stuff sack away entirely is because I don't think you should even really be using it on the trail either, partially because it's actually easier and better to pack it in your pack just loose and just stuffing it down in the bottom of your pack. But that's a different topic. We're talking about warmth here. And even on the trail, packing it in this pack all day for multiple days on a trail is going to affect the warmth of it because it's not going to have the full time to re-loft that it needs to be able to give you that warmth. Synthetic insulation has more of a memory than downfill. And if you often store your bag in a compression sack long term for months or years at a time, maybe only taking it out for like one backpacking trip in the summer and then the rest of the year it stays in one of these, eventually it's not going to give you the same temperature rating that it promises. I decided to make this video because I was out backpacking on the Timberline Trail this summer with two of my buddies and we all had similarly rated sleeping bags that we were carrying with us. But both of them were complaining about being cold at night. They were having to put on every item of clothing that they had packed in order to stay warm at night and they still slept terribly cold all night, kept waking up. I felt fine in my 20-degree bag that I had brought and temperatures were maybe dipping just below freezing, somewhere right around that range. And as we were discussing it, we realized that both of them had been storing their sleeping bags in the compression sack during the off season, and they had been doing this for years with them. So effectively, they were losing at least 10 degrees off of their temperature rating, maybe even more, still carrying the same amount of weight as I was for a 20-degree bag, but still suffering through the cold nights. So what should you do instead? Ideally, you want to be hanging it up by the little loops that come on the bottom of the sleeping bag on a hanger and hang them in your closet. But not everybody has a big enough closet or enough space to be able to hang them up like that year round. And if you don't, like me, then the next best thing is to store them in the storage bag that they come with, like this. This allows them to lay uncompressed, maintaining their loft while in a somewhat reasonable size to be able to store. These could fit like in those black and yellow tubs or something like that, or on a shelf like I store mine up on the top up there. So what if you've been storing them in the compression sack for years? Are you just screwed? Is it a piece of junk now? Maybe, maybe not. If you've been doing this for years and only have been taking it out for 1 or 2 trips in the summer and storing it compressed the remainder of the year, you might want to consider looking at buying a new bag. But there is some hope before you do that. One way that you can try to revive it is by laying it out for a couple weeks. So if you have like a guest bed or something like that, take it out of the sack, lay it out flat on top of a bed with nothing on top, and allow it to just lay there for a couple weeks. Or hanging it would be fine too, as long as it's not being pressed in with other clothes or other things in the closet. And there is a chance that you're gonna get it to be able to loft back up to the original temperature rating that it was promising. However, the only way you're really gonna know that is to take it out on a trail. However, the only way you're gonna know that is to actually take it out, test it out at the temperatures that are getting close to the limits of the bag. So you're not going to want to be taking that out on a multi-night trip if you're not confident, but you might be able to take it out for a trial run for one night or something like that. But to this point, this is another great tip to do for when you're heading out on a multi-day trip, is to actually take it out, even take it out of the storage bag and lay it out for a week before you're leaving on the trip, at least for a few days. And so that way, it's actually going to gain some more loft, get that maximum temperature rating that it's offering. So, you don't want to be packing your bag days ahead of time, packing your sleeping bag down inside your pack, compressing it in for a few days, because then when you go to take it out, when you're ready for bed, it's not going to have the time to fully re-loft. But if you allow it that time before the trip, it's going to maximize that temperature rating potential for you. Speaking of temperature rating, that last bonus tip I promised, that interesting tidbit, this is something I didn't know until this past year. So if you haven't heard this before, comment in the comments and let me know if this is old news or if it's something new to you. But temperature ratings are based upon wearing a base layer in the bag. I've always preferred to not wear a base layer, and I've purchased my bags based on that temperature rating, just mostly going au natural inside the bag. Know that you are not going to be getting down to that same rating if you're not wearing a base layer. Take that into consideration. If you don't like wearing a base layer in your bag, make sure that you're buying, a good 10 degrees lower than what the temperature rating is that you're planning for sans base layer. And if you think that your bag is not measuring up to its full potential, going commando might be the problem. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button. If I wasted your time, please hit the dislike button. And if you're shopping for a synthetic bag, check out this video where I compared two different versions of my favorite synthetic bag.